You have the whole day in front of you. I got you up early. Yeah.
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 No, you did.
Now think about how much more time you can spend today.
Yes.
With all the free times that I asked you to get up at 8:15 in the morning.
I know, on an off day. Off day. Yeah, it's good. I can't call this early in the morning. That would be silly.
Yeah.
But I'm fucking tired. All right, we ready?
Yeah.
All right. It is wild how much more tired I am in the morning than like late at night when I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Like now I'm like actually tired. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
It is another edition of the Helms podcast. That's my on vacation this week voice, trying to get through the yo. Was not ready for that. Was stretching it. Got through it, just like the Phils got through the Orioles. Suck it, Orioles. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Right on time, 8:46.
Yeah, well, hey, I felt like you today. All right, so inside baseball, between the two of us, if we have a set recording time, one of us is here way more often at that set recording time than the other. So how's it feel, buddy? How's it
feel? I'm a what have you done for me lately guy.
Yes, you sure are.
The early results. Hold on. By the way, up at Lake Placid, I was at least 10 minutes early.
Yes.
And this one I was locked in at 8:25. So that's two straight. Seltzer obviously slacking, doesn't care about the podcast.
Yes.
But think about it this way, like I know it's so early in the morning, and I hope that you can figure out a way to get through this at 8:45. Like most people would.
I was asleep like 20 minutes ago. But
yes. Just think about like right now, if you were doing your job.
I'd be like deep into my day. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now it's like, the camera's probably, talking about the alien thing now or whatever. I guess they had a major controversy with Pop Culture Beat the Hammer.
Oh, really? What happened? I missed this completely.
They asked the contestant the same question twice by accident, and no one picked it up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so you see what happens when Seltzer's not there? Everything falls apart. So, as always, life is better, and everyone's more locked in when James Seltzer's around. And I have to get this out, James. Okay. It's freaking, I know we're going to get to it. It's deadline season.
No,
it is deadline season, and like I'm so giddy thinking about because last year, so I had heard about the Marsh stuff in the morning, and it wasn't out anywhere, and it was like, are they really they're gonna trade O'Hoppe for Marsh? Like that's insane. Didn't see that one coming. The D-Rob trade I think was a bit, it was kind of out there, it was perculating. Noah Syndergaard.
They said they weren't trading him. They were like, we want
this guy's
untouchable. Brown's untouchable. He's not going anywhere.
Ben Brown and Logan O'Hoppe untouchable.
Not going anywhere.
Yeah. By the way, Ben Brown, a top 70 prospect in baseball right now.
Buddy.
But it's just like I feel like there's been almost no rumors. Like last night there was the Adam Duvall thing, which is. I think I could have tweeted out the Phillies are interested.
The Eduardo Rodriguez they're attached to. Thanks, Mark Feinsand.
Listen, he's had a breakout year. He can never stay healthy. But
great this year,
so many Dave guys. It's like, oh, shocking. Guys that helped him win a World Series.
I know, right? Back to the well.
Well, and the problem is, not a problem, because I would love Eduardo Rodriguez, even though it costs a good amount. And I would love Duvall, too. But the problem is that he got Kimbrel, right? So he's like, I'm on a heater right now. Yeah. Yep. Let me go
together.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'm excited to get into
it. Hey, maybe your bring Steve Pearce out of retirement thing could happen.
Dude, I guarantee you right now, Steve Pearce could still rake against lefties. That's a World Series MVP right there. You know what I mean? So we'll obviously get into it later. But I want you to know, and I want everyone to know, giddy about the deadline.
You're ready.
And I feel like we needed to do it this podcast because by Sunday, I think the Phillies might have been making a trade by Sunday. They can make a trade today. David Robertson to the Marlins last night.
Well, look at you also leading with a flex of I knew all day that the Marsh trade was happening last year, but no big deal to me. So So you saying things? Is that what you're saying now? Should we expect something to happen today? Is that what
No.
this little no?
Actually, no. But I would take it for sure. I would 100% take it.
Yeah, I'm excited. And look, that was now full disclosure. I rewatched the games because I was at Fish shows the last 2 nights.
Yep.
Seems like I should go to a Fish show every night because when I go to a Fish show, the Phillies have great comeback wins against the Orioles, so that's pretty sweet.
You know what? You know what I should not do during a Phillies game, James?
What's that?
Is be driving from Lake Placid and miss the whole thing, and we just stopped 6 times because turns out I don't know if you know this, but the cry is very powerful from a baby.
Sure.
And it turns out I would just be like power through, he'll get there.
Big power through guy. Yeah.
Not the same with Jill, and the fun development, James, is that Walker is now learning how to hit a higher octave.
Oh, good, lucky you.
So so he's hitting a higher octave, which is a fun development.
Yeah.
I listening to a whole game on the radio is actually not bad.
Oh, great.
I love listening to baseball games on the radio. I just like being able to see it, at the same time.
It's a bold take.
Yeah. So I like to be able to see what I'm watching. But man, it wasn't too bad. But either way, Phil's lost, and that was because of me.
And Walker cried a lot. Yes. I'm very good at ignoring it when I need to. Emily is not. Emily's like, don't you hear that? And I'll be like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah. She's wailing. No.
Turns out our wife's very nice and great
much
people.
much more attuned to our baby's struggles than we are. That's correct. Yes,
exactly right. We love our kids, but
the best. We'd
love to get home too.
I know. Yeah, we love to. We love both. All right. The Orioles series, and we'll get to the trade deadline coming up. But that was a really exciting series. I mean, all 3 games, great games. One of the better, maybe the best series all season, just in terms of 3 baseball games. Had a chance to win that first one. Obviously, didn't come through. But they went up against the team with the second best record in baseball, 1, 2, and 3, and it just looked like 2 really evenly matched teams, Jack.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that happened in the Orioles series was that, for the week and a half stretch before that, where it felt remember early in the season, they went to Los Angeles and they allowed 36 runs in 3 games, and they're just getting bludgeoned by teams.
Craig Kimbrell, that was the last time Kimbrell gave up the grand slam to Muncy or whatever. It was sure.
Yeah. And I thought what had happened the last week before the Orioles series was they just were in every game and they would shoot themselves in the foot, or they would make some mistake and they would find ways to lose. And, while the city was in absolute panic and meltdown mode, and here comes the collapse and 1 year wonder, team's a loser, fire Thompson, all this stuff, I was kind of listen, I think this stuff's going to turn, because there's no way that they can keep finding these dumb ways to lose games. And what happened in the Orioles series, they found a dumb way to lose Monday night.
Sure did. Yes.
And the shortstop got thrown out, which meant Edmundo had to bat in the 8th and couldn't get a bunt down and lined out and whatever. And then I thought Tuesday and Wednesday.
The shortstop, just going to call him the shortstop was good there.
The shortstop, yes.
The shortstop.
Yeah. That's where we're at with number 7. Yeah.
Very appropriate way to describe him.
So yeah, and then Tuesday, it was trending in the same direction, of course. I just think that Tuesday night might have been the most important win of the season, from the standpoint of getting the monkey off the back, having a chance to exhale, and be all right, we kind of weathered it. We took a game against the Orioles. There's been a lot of just angst. I feel like there's angst around the team. And I felt like they released a lot of that. The celebration was a big celebration for a July game against the Orioles, which, listen, we appreciate. This is a team that was playing dance on our own. And
yeah, these guys celebrate, buddy.
Yeah, they celebrate. It's part of their thing. And then I thought, it showed the next night. It showed the next night. They went down 3-0 because, God forbid, we could just get a lead.
It's only 2. Honestly,
it's their new bit, man. It's legitimately their new bit.
It's every game.
Dude, I think they've had the lead first once in the last 14 games.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it is great in that, and we got this feel with them last year when they started to really put it together and all that. But like, it is nice having a team that you can watch a baseball game and be down 2-0 or 1-0 or 3-0 or whatever and feel like they're not out of a baseball game, like ever. And I think that that's what this team is getting back to. And that's one of the hallmarks of a great team. That's one of the hallmarks of the best teams. Like, those are the teams that you feel like have real chances to do something, is a team that's never out of a game, a team that always fights, a team that battles, because it says something about that team. And those
Well,
are the
and I
type of teams that battle against adversity. You know what I mean?
I believe the '08 Phillies led the league in comeback wins.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think like it is. You're 100% right. It's a hallmark of what the good teams do. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to do it.
No,
every game.
Don't force yourself to do it. You should be able to do it, not always do it. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah. Now, I think
a nice 5-0 lead once in a while. Like, let's do that, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe against the Pirates we can do that.
It would be a thought. Yes.
Yeah. Now, I think the biggest difference between the team now and the team at the beginning of the year is I didn't feel that. Like I felt like when
absolutely. It's been the last month, like the last month or so, it's turned.
Yeah, when they would go down early in the season, I'd be like, nah, they're done. And it was a lot like the pre-Girardi Phillies, where it was like, or no, the Girardi, the pre-Thompson Phillies. Yeah, definitely the Girardi Phillies. Where it was like they go down, it's like, oh, they're gonna lay over and die, and this team just hasn't done it. Even the games, and I think that's another reason why I didn't have this doom and gloom attitude. Was like, even in the games they were losing, they were coming back. It would just be like some dumb 8th inning home run or whatever, that would cost them. Now they did that on Tuesday night as well. But it's exciting. It's exciting that they are finding ways to come back. It's exciting that, listen, I think the Orioles are great. And they
great, and they're going to be like, the Orioles are. Get ready for this. This is the next 5 years minimum of Orioles,
which is that's all they can do, because then they'll have to tear it down. And they'll trade.
That's what I mean. They won't sign the guys and stuff, but like the next 5 years is going to be a really good run for the Orioles.
And like again, Jackson and Hurstad aren't even there yet.
They have the best young team in baseball, and they have the best prospect just like hanging out among other guys. But like the best prospect in baseball is just like not hanging out, like shooting through the minors. He's 19 in Double-A. Like, it's like no big deal.
He's the best prospect for now. I mean, Aiden Miller's coming. Come on. 3 for 4 yesterday in his debut. I mean, we'll get back to everything. No lie, I watched the video.
By the way, real quick, I mean, just for reference, the kid we were talking about is Jackson Holiday. Same age. He's in Double-A crushing. Same age. He's in Double-A crushing.
Well, you can make the case the FCL league for the Phillies and Tigers is equal competition to Double-A.
Good point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I watched the video.
That one game Aiden Miller had was very impressive. You are correct.
I'm so excited. I watched the double a minimum of 1 million times. But yeah, like the Orioles are really good. Now the Phillies got lucky because Felix Bautista was not available like the entire series. They basically gave him series
unbelievable.
off.
Yeah. Great.
So like, because I guess
all their bullpen pitchers are good. So like it's still impressive. But
dude,
Bautista's a stud.
I love Cano. Like I was like when he was coming in. Yeah. When he was coming in the ninth, I was like, well, I mean,
see ya.
I'll hope, but I guess if you want to look at his arm slot is dropping because he's getting tired late in the year. So we all saw that one coming.
So I didn't. Yeah.
But yeah, so like and this is how I felt about the Rays series as well, is I think the Phillies look toe-to-toe with some of the best teams in the American League. The thing with the Phillies and the single most, like, we can talk about the deadline, and we will, and whatever, but they're not going to go, like, I would be shocked if Juan Soto's a Philly on Tuesday. Like, I think it's going to be a Braves-ish deadline from a couple years ago, 2021, where they find, fringe pieces. And, like this, the Phillies will be as good as the top of the lineup is. I think it's like, to boil this down into its simplest form, and the top of the lineup has just been like so annoying. like the Turner the 2-spot thing. Schwarber was just dreadful in the Orioles series. Castellanos, what he's done post All-Star break is
hasn't gotten a hit since the All-Star break. Yep.
It has, but I see your point.
I know.
Harper is coming along.
Harper's been good. Yeah.
JT, like, holy cow, man, please. Like, for all the Turner stuff, and I agree with it, like, JT's been just as brutal at this point. And it's like, to boil it down into its simplest form, like, if the stars can just be the stars, like, just be the stars for 2 months and see how good this team can be. And if they're not, it's just, because you see it, like, they're like, they have the bullpen, they mostly have the starting pitching. It's those guys in the lineup. If they can just be who they are, they've got a real shot here to do something.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, like, they're all sub 800 OPS guys, like, Harper might be back over it or whatever now, but, like, the fact that those 5 guys, each of them making 20 million or more, every single one of those 5 guys that we're talking about makes 20 million or more for a season to come out and hit. And they're all sub 800 OPS guys.
Bryce is 802. Bryce is 802.
So I thought Bryce. So, like, but seriously, like, think about that. Think about that. We're not saying sub 900. We're saying sub 800. Like, these are your best hitters. These are $20 million a year guys. Like, we'll get to Juan Soto, but, like, everyone's like, oh, he stinks. His OPS is way higher than anyone on the team. Like, this is crazy. Like, it is. You're right, Jack. Like, it is the single biggest issue with this team, and we'll talk about it with the trade deadline. We'll talk about it just moving forward. But, like, this team will go as far as those 5 bring them, and that's what. Yes, they're being paid $120 million combined, like that. Yes, that makes sense. You spent $120 million on 5 guys for a season. You're gonna go where they go. They're gonna take you where they take you. And to be honest, the fact that the Phillies are 8 games above 500 right now and able to look like a similar level team like the Orioles or these other teams that are playing better baseball and have a better record, like, that is, to your point, such a sign of hope to me. Like, that even if like 2 of these guys just get on a roll, like, what could this team be? Like, they're a playoff team right now, and their 5 best players have underachieved. Like, that's I'm taking it as a positive, but to your point, like, ultimately they got to hit. but I'm taking it as a positive. Like, those guys haven't hit. They're 8 games above 500.
The Phillies should be the 3rd best team in the National League this year. It's as simple as that. Braves, Dodgers, Phillies. Like, they should not be worse than the Reds. They should not be worse than the Diamondbacks. They should not be worse than the Giants,
than the
Brewers, the Marlins. Like, there's 5 teams. They all pretty much have the same record at this point, and now it's about separating yourself. Like, now it is the trade deadline's on Tuesday. You see who you upgrade, and then after the trade deadline, given the schedule in August, and I was like, well, I was going to bring it up the take bag, but, like, the next 14 games, Pirates, Marlins, Royals, Nationals.
I had it too. Yeah, I know, dude. They got, like, a real run. No, honestly, it's really the next month of baseball.
It's the whole month, but, like, the next 14 games, and the thing about the time that they're getting this run and why it should make this even better, James, is that it's all these teams that are selling at the deadline.
Totally.
So, like, whatever semi-talent that these bad teams have, they're getting rid of. Like, the Pirates already traded Santana. We'll see if they make moves over the weekend. Mm-hmm. The Nationals are going to trade whatever. Well, they might hold on to Lane Thomas, but
they'll trade Candelario, and they'll maybe trade whatever. Finnegan and stuff like that. Yeah.
Royals are going to trade what they can get for a lot of their, whatever.
Arlo, whoever, stuff like that.
They play the Nationals twice this month, so like, again, like, this is the time where
you can St. Louis, who's probably going to trade some pieces. If nothing else, they've been well out of it. I mean, they got some real scheduling opportunities, and to your point, teams that are going to be worse in a few days potentially.
Right, and it's time to distance yourself, and it's time for the Stars to get on a roll, because, again, the bullpen is good enough, and I think getting better with Sir Anthony on his way back. Alvarado, it's 2 injuries now for him, and it seems like they're kind of slow playing, getting him back. I hope it comes back again, back to being Jose Alvarado, but it feels more like there could be more here, so it could maybe change what they do at the deadline and getting another bullpen piece just to, prepare around him. Starting staff, like, the funniest part about the starting staff right now, James, is, like, they're all essentially doing the same thing. Like, they're they're
7
6
innings,
innings,
3 runs, 6 innings, 3 runs, 6
but
innings,
it's
4
one blow
runs.
up inning,
I know.
and everyone starts freaking out. This guy sucks, including me. I was very worried about Ranger the other day because it's like he's just been okay, but he's been like.
But it was fine. 6-3 runs. He got you a win. You know what I mean?
I know.
Or kept you in a game that you ended up winning. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's what the starters are doing. It looks like they're all battling. Now, my big hope is that I think that the Zach Wheeler we saw in Cleveland over the weekend, we might get our ace back. And
he was awesome. They lost that game because of a defensive miscue, and that was it. Like that. Yeah. Like it was not Wheeler's fault. That's for sure.
He's brilliant, and the fastball that zipped back on it and all that stuff. So they might get an ace at the trade deadline in Zach Wheeler. So it's really about, and the starting staff is, I think they'll get on a roll, and I trust Caleb Cotham and his staff to get the most out of these guys. Again, it's just like when you have the second season that Bohm's having, or second season that Stott's having, Bohm, who, listen, the power is annoying, and I just one of these years, buddy, like one of these years, drive the ball to the ballpark. But 280, 330.
Yeah. And also a guy who I just feel like if you need a hit in a spot, like I do have a lot of confidence he's going to get me that hit in that spot. More than like Stott and Bohm, like Stott, Bohm, and Harper. I've said before, it's Harper and Stott are number 1, 2 if I need a hit to win a series, to save my life, to whatever on this team right now. Bohm's probably 3. If I just need a single, like he's probably 3.
100%. And it should be. I mean, he's batting 7th most nights and leads the team in RBI. So, he's clearly got some kind of clutch gene there. Yeah. And I guess he talked about how, like, growing up, they'd be benched if they didn't get a runner home from third. So,
ooh, hey now.
Yeah. So, I guess a little pressure there. So, like, when you have the years that those guys are having and they're developing, and Marsh, I mean, you have to throw Marsh in there. Marsh been
the really best OBS guy on the team all year.
Yeah, so, like, it's annoying because you see the makings of a great team here, but you can't get there until you start seeing a little more consistency from Schwarber. Listen, like 25 home runs is valuable. We understand
all the 5 again. Like to your point, like Marsh, Stott, and Bohm, like they are doing what and you want more power from Bohm. You want a little more consistency, whatever from these guys. Like not Stott, he's perfect. But like what those 3 guys are doing, like all 3 of them took the leap we expected and hoped at least if everyone else does what they're supposed to. It's just everyone else hasn't. Like part of the reason they're 8 games above 500 is because of how good those Stott has been and Marsh has been and stuff like that.
Dude, hold on.
Stott. I mean, Stott.
How about Stotty?
That's like the MVP of the team this year. Like, let's be honest. Like, if you have to pick an MVP of the Phillies right now on July 28th, it's Bryson Stott. Like, he has been their MVP this season. He's been their most, again, like, I would probably take Harper to get a hit over him if I had to save my life. But, like, I'm not even sure about that. I might take Stott. Like, that's how good he's been. He's been the MVP of this team so far.
And the coolest part about Stott is, like, last year, if you threw him 95 plus up, he couldn't touch it. Mm-hmm. And all he did all offseason was watch the World Series and see that, and he changed his hands, and he figured out how to get to balls better. And I just love him, man.
Just a ball player.
Oh my God, he's just a ball player.
Okay, so the Utley comps, we all know it's annoying, but like I will say, I think he is the number 1 since Utley in terms of Phillies fans saying he's just a ball player or that guy's just a baseball player. Like he's the new Utley, at least in that for sure. Like even Rob Thompson, whenever he talks about it, he's like, yeah, he's just a baseball player. It's like, damn right he is. It's so funny. What a great compliment, calling him the like literal definition of what he does for a living.
Just a ball player. just a ball player. And again, I just keep thinking, like, what does a 28-year-old Stott season look like? What does as he gets more, like, he's already batting over 300. And does he compete for a batting title a couple of years from now? Does he have, like, one of those, like, a 330 season? And eventually, listen, I know Schwarb's comfortable there. I don't know. You're fighting yourself if you're not putting him
down the road,
top of the line.
Without a doubt. I mean, the amount of pitches he sees, the looks he gets for the rest of the lineup, the pitches he fouls off, the tough at bat, like it's just, especially, and that's the thing too, is I think what does a developed Stott look like as he develops? I do think he'll walk more. I think he has such a great And he
He's
clearly
already heating up in the walk department,
and
too.
he has such a mastery of the strike zone, clearly, and an ability to put a bat on the ball in the strike zone as well as anyone in baseball other than like Luis Arias. So like, of course he can. I think like as he matures and stuff, if he wants to walk more, he can. Like I feel like he's the kind of guy who kind of like can do what he wants up there. It's really it's amazing. All right, we got a lot to get to. We got take back perfect deadline, but like we got to talk Trey Turner real quick because like this felt like the week. You know, we've kind of been waiting all season for it to turn in terms of like, and it's been slowly getting there and stuff like that. But to the point where it's like, all right, like now we're talking about like expunging the guy. I know Joe Giglio was talking about early in the season, but now like other people are saying like, if I could get rid of the contract, I would. People are like trade him. People are like, we finally getting booed. He finally got benched as he needed to. He got kicked out of that game, clearly frustrated. Like it feels like we're kind of reached that moment right now where it's like, all right, either this is the moment where Trey Turner is going to get better. I mean, he's not going to be Trey, at least in my opinion, he's not going to be like Trey Turner this year, but he's going to get better. Or it's a Nick Castellanos season from Trey Turner. Like, if I had to bet, I would bet on this being a lost season for Trey Turner. Like, I expect nothing from Trey Turner. Like, whatever I get will be a bonus. But, like, it feels like we're in a moment where it's either going to turn or it's not.
Yeah, totally. And especially because, obviously, I think they drowned it out a little bit of the booze on the broadcast the other night. Like I heard,
I believe they did. I'm sure.
I heard from people in the ballpark that it was not great.
As it shouldn't have been. Like I would have booed him in that. I mean, I would have booed. Like this is what it is.
There's Bulldog Celts holding everyone
right,
accountable.
buddy. Accountability, buddy.
Yeah, no one holds
you
it
here.
Yeah. We are not blind homers at all. But. So I thought it was really smart of Topper to sit him in the last game of the series, give him 2 full days, and then reinsert him into the lineup on the road. They have 6 road games.
Very smart.
So he doesn't have to deal with. He doesn't. I think that's Thompson's biggest strength. That I think is knowing his players, and I thought it was interesting. I think Howard asked him before Tuesday night, like, would you consider benching him? And Topper basically was like, I went to him. He said he wanted to play. I'll give him that. And then, like we know, no baseball players going to say, no, I don't want to play tonight. And if they do, then you don't, might not have a winner on your hands. And Rob Thompson took it away from him and said, no, you're going to sit. We're going to give you time.
He had to.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like sometimes you have to take that decision out of a player's hands.
Totally. So I think that's obviously Rob Thompson's probably biggest strength. And I think getting him on the road is good. Now, tonight, I don't want to bat him. I don't think he should be batting too.
I agree with you, dude. I agree with you. Take the pressure off.
Let him just bat 6.
Flip him and Bohm. Put Bohm in the 2-0, put him 7th, whatever. Something like that. Bat 6. Put Stott up there and flip whatever. Like, I'm with you, dude. You cannot be batting 2 right now. You can't.
So 2 to me is more important than leadoff, especially for this team. Like if Schwarber bats leadoff, hits a home run or walks, we take that. The strikeouts are going to happen, but having him there is somewhat. But the 2 spot, like it was so refreshing on Wednesday night, where Castellanos is coming up, and Castellanos hasn't been great since the All-Star break. But I felt like they had a chance, Like I felt like it wasn't like, oh, here comes a strikeout or a weak ground ball, whatever. So whether it's Bohm there, I think Bohm's like a classic definition of a 2-hole hitter.
Me too, man.
He probably shouldn't be because he's 6'5" again.
No, he shouldn't be. Yes, but he does. He can spray the ball, get the bat on the ball, can move runner over, all that stuff.
You could put. They put Castellanos there a lot. Either way, I think it would be a mistake to insert him and put him back at 2. And great, like if he comes back and he bats 6 and he starts looking like Trey Turner, then move him back to 2. It's fine, Like that's. But to bring him back and put him right in the 2 spot, I think would be a mistake. I think it would be putting all the weight back on his shoulders. Like let him work his way through this. But I think you're setting him up for failure by putting him in the 2 spot, because I'm mostly with you. Like if Trey Turner turns back into superstar Trey Turner, I'd be shocked at this point.
Shocked. This year, next year. So we're just talking this season. I'd be shocked. And
I don't think you can bank on that. So they're not doing him any favors putting him at 2. Let him bat 6th, and if he gets hot. He'll understand all that stuff. So it's definitely reached that point of the season. And they can't do what they did. Listen, they got to Game 6 of the World Series. And I'm not sure who else they put in that spot. But I think they might have cost themselves a title. Keep batting Castellanos at 4. And you last year. Now, you can't do that with a 2 spot in the lineup. I just think it's too important.
Yeah, and look, I know they got back to Castellanos in that spot, but there were points in the season where they did drop him to 7th and lower in the lineup last year. Like, he didn't just stay at 4 all year. So, I absolutely think you have to move Turner there. I think that is honestly imperative. I think it looks foolish if you come out with the lineup tonight and Turner's at the 2-0 again. So, and again, like, I'm not, we'll see, but it feels like a Castellanos-ish year for Turner. And again, the most frustrating part of it, there's a lot of frustrating parts, but I think the most frustrating part is how Turner clearly seems like one of those guys, at least with Castellanos, give him credit, where, not that he's a defensive stalwart, but he didn't let his offensive struggles affect his defense. He actually rose up and played better defensively because of it, made some, as we all know, some amazing, unbelievable plays. Like, Turner feels like when he's struggling, it's full body, it's everything. Like, because he is a better defender than we've seen this year, and certainly we saw it the other night when he got kicked out. Like just booting simple plays, like the ineffectiveness on simple plays consistently this year from him has just been something that, like, it just feels like it's not just he's just struggling like across the board,
Yeah, and it's probably the first time in his career he's really struggled. I mean, it's as simple as that. And the one difference is, I don't think they didn't do him. It's not his fault. There was no favors given when he started the season and Bryce wasn't in the lineup, and he's a $300 million guy, and that he's a new guy coming in. This team was just in the World Series, and we got to be playing to that standard because that's the standard of the team now. And Bryce is not there. You know what I mean? And now it's like, okay, you're the star. You got to carry us. And it stinks right now. And he's clearly letting him affect him. And it's just, you just have to hope that that this is not what it's going to be like next year. Because if it is, I mean, holy cow.
Well, then, that's a disaster. Let's not even.
It's a total disaster. So
put that out in the world.
Not letting that out into the universe. Yeah. And again, I'm not banking on this year, but to continue to bat him 2 and have Schwarber him 1-2 when Schwarber's in a downturn, it's killing you. It's killing you at the top of the lineup. You
can't do it. And I think you make a great point that the Castellanos thing last year played a role in them losing the World Series. And we all said it the entire playoffs. We kept saying it, like, especially in the World Series, in those moments where, like, as they were getting no hit and struggling, we're like, you can't have this guy in that spot. Like, they're not going to pitch to Bryce. They're not going to give Bryce anything to hit. And, like, Bryce is your team right now. It's everything. It was a massive mistake by Thompson. And I think if you're going to say, and I agree with you, I think Thompson's biggest strength is knowing his players, but I think his biggest weakness is sometimes knowing who his players have been, and that Castellanos example is an example of it, of kind of being like, well, he's Nick Castellanos. He's going to bat cleanup. Well, if I had to bet, just to finish this, I would bet Trey Turner is batting 2nd tonight.
I would agree too. And the problem is that they're winning last year with him there, and they're winning with Turner at the 2nd spot and Schwarber at the leadoff spot. So what they have to be able to determine is how would they get that much of a bump by moving someone else there.
Totally. And how much would it affect Schwarber's mentality? And there's a lot of variables to that. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect trade deadline coming up. Let's get your take bag. Let's get this take bag out of the way. Come on. We got a perfect
this cute little take bag.
Perfect deadline to do. Let's get your cute little take bag out of the way.
So it is.
Oh, by the way, real quick, shout out to Miller Lite, presented by Miller Lite. We love Miller Lite, and I'm going to tell you about the Miller Lite account of the week coming up in a minute. Go ahead, take back.
Good. Okay. Well, after the take back.
Yeah, obviously, buddy. Come on. You think I'm a first timer here?
So I think it's. I don't know the reason for it. I don't know, and maybe it's like so. I think it would be excuse making if it wasn't the amount of guys this was affecting. But I think it's at least interesting to put out into the hemisphere. Mm-hmm. And I get annoyed when people blame this. But when you look at, I want to go through all these names. And I'm going to say, what is the thing that these guys were all a part of?
The World
Pete
Baseball
Alonso.
Classic.
Pete Alonso.
Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. This is Team USA. These are the Team USA guys, okay? This is on the offensive side of the ball.
No, for real. It's good. Go ahead.
Alonso, down year. Tim Anderson, down year. Nolan Arenado, down year. Paul Goldschmidt, down year. Jeff McNeil, down year. Cedric Mullins, down year. Injured, but down year. JT, down year. Schwarber, down year. Trout, down year. Trey, down year. Bobby Witt Jr., down year. 11 players. Now, the players it hasn't affected is essentially just Kyle Tucker and Mookie Betts.
Shout out to my fantasy team, Kyle Tucker. I love you, buddy. What a hero. And I'll tell you, though, Kyle Tucker did start slow. It took him a little while, and now he's been awesome. Like, the last, month, he's been, carrying my team, both teams. But Kyle Tucker did start slow. I'll tell you that. He was not Kyle Tucker for the first month plus of the season as well.
So I have no idea what to make of that, but that's a lot. That's a lot of guys. That's a lot of guys that have had down years, especially some pedigree guys.
It is and Topper's been asked about it and he's talked about it. It's he's not blaming it, but he's it is, you don't get as many at bats. You don't get as many reps. He's it is a different thing. You're part of this team. You're not playing every day. When you are playing, you're playing in a game. You're not getting all these opportunities to work, all these at bats. It's not like a normal spring training. So especially we talk all the time about, baseball players being creatures of habit. It's a very different start to your season. It's a very different preseason, all that stuff. I don't know. I'm definitely not saying there's nothing to it, for sure.
It's a lot of names. It's a lot of names. Kevin Long. So it's so interesting, Kevin Long, because you see the development of the young guys. Stott, Marsh, mostly Bohm, Pache. Rojas, I'm not giving him much credit for because Rojas has just come up and been fine. I think the biggest thing the Phillies need, I think Kevin Long is very important from the standpoint of guys love him, guys trust him, young guys have gotten better. But when your top 5 guys in the lineup are struggling as much as they are, it's going to fall on someone. I'm not saying I don't want to move on from Kevin Long, but I think that the biggest issue with the offense this year, I think Kevin Long is very good at the mechanics of the swing. But when it comes to game planning and I feel like there's something lacking there because it's been the biggest problem with the team is it feels like they just lose approaches throughout a game. And I look at the Orioles. They have 3 hitting coaches. And then I look at the Phillies pitching side. I mean, they have Cotham, they have Brian Kaplan, they have a guy that is the liaison between the AAA or the minor leagues and the big leagues. They have a bunch of guys on the pitching side, and I feel like it's kind of just falling on Kevin Long. So I think if they can find someone that can also help with game planning and what to look for and whatever, because I think he's a good hitting coach. He's been in big games for a while. He's been in a ton of World Series, and he does good work with some of the young guys.
And players seem to like him, guys who've been with him in the past, the Turners, the Sotos, all these guys really seem to appreciate what he did for them.
Totally, and Bryce Harper, and that matters. But it's also been disappointing from the offense side. You look at what Caleb Cotham,
massively disappointing.
Cotham's gotten out of
less
there's more
to work
talent.
With. Yes, exactly. Kevin Long has done less with more talent than Cotham has done with less talent.
Exactly. Right, home runs. I mean, there were 6 last year. There are 20-something this year. There needs to be something with the hitting rather than just Kevin Long will figure it out.
Totally.
So
especially with these vets too. I mean, again, you can, to your point, I think especially hitting coaches, I feel you can always help and all that, but at a certain point, hitters are who they are. Especially if you're a guy who's good enough to make $20 million plus in a season as a hitter in Major League Baseball, it's because you know how to freaking hit, man. You know what you're doing. You've got a lot of years of these things ingrained in you. So I think it's particular, not to give him a pass, because I do think Long deserves a ding for this. I think you're right to bring it up. But I just think it's much harder for Kevin Long to fix Trey Turner than it is to fix Christian Pache, if you know what I mean.
I agree. And they listen to him and whatever. But yeah, it's just something I was thinking about with the offense struggling. And I think
it's a great point.
Approach is my biggest issue at the offense. The swing.
I totally agree with you. And I also feel it's a night to night thing sometimes too, where there'll just be games where don't even like have an approach.
Yes.
What was the 4-0 shutout last Thursday when it was just like they barely like showed up. It was a Brewers game. It was just like there was like no approach. They just were like, all right, let's go out and let's get out of here. Like before they went to Cleveland, it's like, all right, let's just get on a plane, guys. I need to get out of here and get on a plane. It was like, all right, man, like do something here, you know?
Well, and even like
Bibby,
Saturday,
was that the Bibby game? I mean, Bibby just freaking owned him. Anyway,
yeah, totally. Yeah, so that it's just bad approach.
or Bibby was the next one. Excuse me, I was talking about the Brewers. Anyway, go ahead. Yes.
But the it's been so, and I'm sure you noticed it, but like the freaking end of game crowds, like you know how a majority of the season the ballpark's been filled, but the last 3 games against the Orioles, in like the 8th and 9th, was the most it has felt like playoff ish, and it sounded a lot like the regular seasons back in 09 through 11 ish, where it was like they're actually affecting the outcome of the game, and they are being into it, and like they're chanting along with the song, and you could see it wearing on like Cano and some of the Orioles late in the game, where it's like, oh, it's loud in here. There's real pressure, and it's not very often for a baseball crowd, especially in the regular season, have like that kind of pressure on an opposing team. And I felt like the Orioles series, we saw a good amount of that, of like late in games, it's loud in there, and people are into it, and they're trying to be like the 10th man, I guess.
It's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's awesome.
no, I think it's really awesome. I agree with you, and I think it did rattle the Orioles a little bit. That's a young team that hasn't been in those spots. Like I'm with you. I thought it was impactful.
Could use more of that. The Jake Cave catch was unbelievable.
Unbelievable catch. Like
That's
just best thing he's done in the major leagues. Jake Cave, congrats, buddy.
Yeah. Good catch.
No,
He's really fired up about it.
Send you back to the minors after he makes some trades. Thank you.
Yep, 100%. And then I do think it's interesting the comparisons between like the Phillies and the Mets, and given that they both have essentially tried to buy their way to a championship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Phillies, and same thing with the Padres, like they've kind of tried to buy. It's interesting that for all the teams that have tried to buy their way to a title, the Phillies are the ones that have backed it up. You know what I mean? Like last year, Mets win 100 and whatever. Padres get to Game 5 of the NLCS, and the Phillies went to Game 6 of the World Series, and then this year got off to a slow start, but rebounded. And I think that says something about the culture of this team.
I totally agree. And look, all 3 teams got up to slow starts, which I think says something else as well. But yeah, I think look, and I think to the Braves, to that point, I mean, it shows what that machine is. It's like, look at all those teams in the playoffs. Like the Phillies have gotten there, but the Braves are a machine. Like they've lost, they came back and just do it again. And that's what the Phillies want to get to. Like I want this team to start the season hot and stay hot and be awesome. And I think that the culture for that is there.
Yeah, totally. And it's starting to get there. And I think it's only going to get better from here.
Love it. All right. Is that the take bag? Is it time?
That's the take bag.
All right. Good. Because it's the time we've all been waiting for.
Oh.
We are there. It's the Miller Lite Bar of the Week. We finally made it. Shout out to the Fainting Goat, which, what a name, by the way. What a name. That is a all-time great bar name. Our Miller Lite Bar of the Week this week is the Fainting Goat Bar and Restaurant in Glen Olden, where you can watch all Phillies games with the $3.50 Miller Lite Pine Special. Go to faintinggoatpa.com. Awesome name, awesome place. Go Phils. Shout out to Miller Lite. We love Miller Lite. Ever since Miller Lite came on board, the Phillies are like, like 70 games over 500 or whatever it is, so no big deal. Or 50 games over 500, whatever it is, no big deal. Yeah, we love Miller Lite. All right, perfect deadline time.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
I feel like I should go first because you've saved the best for last. It's like the clean up hitter, the whole thing.
And I changed it. I changed it up on you.
I'm sure, and let's all be honest. Every single person listening knows that you put probably 10 times the amount of effort into your trade deadline. You sat there painstakingly going through the names, going through the things, this and that. Mine was much simpler than that. It was tough. For Juan Soto is the freaking trade deadline. Trade for freaking Juan Soto. Like, what are we doing here, dude? What are we doing here? You have a chance to get an all-time. Yeah, well, I have other moves, but in all honesty, I don't think it's going to happen. But my perfect deadline what I want them to do, I want them to trade for Juan Soto. Like, I actually want that. Is my number one thing I want them to do. I'm trading Painter. I'm trading whatever else it takes. Like, I'm really willing to empty some of the farm system here. Like, I believe in the development. I believe in the drafting. We'll get guys back. Like I need World Series titles, man. Like, this window is here. You just talked about it. I mean, this roster is the most expensive roster in the history of the franchise. We have five $20 million guys in the starting, $20 million plus guys in the lineup. And like, we're all in this window here. Everyone's here right now at the right age for a lot of money. And it's like, it's freaking go time. We were in the World Series last year. Like, I feel like it would be a mistake. And I think they're going to do some on the, like you talked about. I think it's going to be more like last year than a mammoth deadline type thing. And I have I have a more realistic trade in addition to this. I want both to happen, just a little more depth. But like, I sat here and I looked at it and I thought about the opportunities. I thought about the moves that can be made. And I kept coming back to them like, this is the move that wins you a World Series. Trading for Juan Soto wins you a World Series, and it gives you a chance to bring in one of the great young hitters in the history of the sport ever in the history of baseball. Like, this guy is on his way to being an inner circle Hall of Famer. Like, he has had a better start to his career than Bryce Harper, which is crazy because Bryce had one of the great starts in the history of baseball too. Like, I just, the more I think about it, and it's been since I did that show, that morning show, whatever, like a week and a half ago, like every day since, I keep thinking like it just compounds more and more. It's like, why not? Like, why not go get Juan Soto? So that is my first move of my perfect deadlines. I'm emptying the vault and I'm trading for Juan Soto. Like, I don't think it's going to happen, but this is my perfect deadline and I want Juan Soto.
Right. So, full disclosure, same. Like, it's also like if they could, I would 100%. Like, so yeah, my perfect deadline is trying to be realistic / perfect deadline.
I get it.
I would. I think that we overthink the Juan Soto thing too much.
Me too.
Like, not only is it for the rest of this year, it's also all next year. You know, and he talks about wanting to come back east. He doesn't like being on the West Coast. He obviously it's not this, like, getting him back here and with all of his guys. I think the chance, like, you'd be buying low on Juan Soto. That's the thing that's so crazy about it, is that you'd be buying low on a guy that is, he's not even having a bad year. It's just like his average.
He'd be the best hitter on the Phillies by a mile right now.
and you have a chance to get back to like a 300, 450, 35 home run Juan Soto in this ballpark, with all of his guys, with Kevin Long. I mean, with an
lineup.
It's stupid. Like, you want to talk about a bat of leadoff? Screw it. I think far too often we think practically, and we don't dream. And just dreaming of how good the Phillies would be with Juan Soto. And I'm not worried about the loser vibes. I think there's something off with that Padres team.
I agree.
I think if he comes here, I think you get a better version of him. And it's a year and a half away from free agency. Like, he has a chance to get a $500 million contract. Like, you think he's going to screw that up by, totally not giving his all the next year and a half? I disagree with that. So I'm with you. Would love Juan Soto. Like, I love it. I love Andrew Painter. I'm a prospect hugger. You know that. But, like, it's a pitching prospect, and it's Artie's unfortunately having to get Tommy John, and I can't bank on pitching prospects. It's tough. I love them, but it's you have to do it for a guy like, again, a 24-year-old who's like already won a World Series and the best player on the team. Like, what are you talking about?
It's just, and again, it's a fit. They need a left fielder. Like, just it all, like, you're replacing Jake Cave in the lineup with Juan Soto. I mean, think about that. Taking Jake Cave, taking him out of the lineup, defensive superstar, albeit, and you're putting Juan Soto in that lineup. I mean, it's just like, and again, I'm trying to win multiple World Series, and you get him in your building, you have a chance to sign him long-term. It creates so many avenues, so many opportunities for this team for the next few years and just moving forward. And to your point, pitching prospects are such a crapshoot. Like, I know exactly what Juan Soto is. I know I'm getting at least a year and a half of one of the best hitters in baseball, with the ceiling being he could be the best hitter in baseball for a year. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I'm all in on the Juan Soto move, and I agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm all in. All right, so I have a more realistic trade that I would make with it, and this is one that I think they could type of trade that could work with or without Juan Soto. And look, my other realistically, if I'm not getting Soto, I am still going in on a guy like Bellinger. Like I'm all about adding right now. Like I am fine giving up prospects for help now. I think this team is good enough. I think when you look around the rest of baseball, other than the Braves, who we beat last year in the playoffs, like there is no team that I look at and say like they're way better than the Phillies. Like the Braves are better. Like the Braves are a better baseball team than the Phillies. It is inarguable right now. But like in a playoff series, are they that much better? I don't think so. Like we just saw it last year. The pitching can match up. Like the bats obviously are great there, but the Phillies have bats too. And if our five get hot, like they match up well. So like, I just think like there's an open opportunity here. And this team has shown that they can do it. This team's shown they can get there. And like, enough already. I've won one title in my lifetime with this team. Like, let's go. So I'm all friggin' in. So if I can't get Soto, I'm trading for Bellinger. I know it's a rental, but like I'm going all out to upgrade that left field position because I feel like the way this team is, and we talked about like, yeah, could they use another starter? Sure. But like, I like Christopher Sanchez. I feel all right with him as my 5. I would like some depth there potentially, but like, I'm not trading for anyone who's going to take one of those playoff starts. Like I'm not giving up enough to get one of those guys in this seller's market. So with that being the case, like I'd upgrade the offense. That's where you've been struggling anyway. So I would trade for Bellinger. And then my other trade, I have one more and then I'll let it get to you. And I know it's like Adam Duvall, like we talked about, it's like probably going to be Adam Duvall. But I wanted to find a move because I agree with you. I think if I'm looking for a bullpen upgrade, I'm looking for a lefty who can get lefties out, right? Like I think that is the biggest hole, especially with the Alvarado up in the air. Like if I'm trading for Juan Soto, I know I don't have a lot of pieces left to kind of go and add a Alex Lang who's a righty. You want it like a lefty, but like a big time reliever guy. So I'm going to the Rockies, and I'm getting a Brent. You don't like this hitter, but the dude can hit left-handed pitching. He's had a good year. I'm trading for Brent Suter and Randall Grichuk.
Oh my god, dude! Like no, no.
Suter,
I'm sorry.
Lefties out. I mean, Suter's been good this year. Yeah. Heading into the end of his year, a 33-year-old come in, get some lefties out. You hate Grichuk. Never like Grichuk.
No. I think Brent Suter's my least favorite player in baseball.
Really? He's been getting guys out, dude.
I cannot. He is a dork. He is an absolute dork. And which means I loathe Brent Suter.
Good.
Which means they're 100%.
They're trading for Brent Suter. But you will admit, at least for some reason this year, whatever he's doing, it's working, and he can get lefties out. And
he was good for the Brewers the last couple of years.
But the point is, he's fine. Like and I think like he is cheap. He is a 33-year-old heading into free agency. He won't cost you much. And I've always liked Grichuk more. Not like I think Grichuk's a nice fourth outfielder bat, and he can start for teams. But I think you bring in a Grichuk, like I think they need a right-handed bat that you can trust to either get some starts for you if Harper's DHing and giving whoever a day off or whatever, or to like I can't have Josh Harrison coming up in a big spot in a playoff game if I need a hit from a right-handed hitter, So I think, but Soto's my thing, and if not, it's Bellinger. But then I'm getting a lefty and a right-handed bat in a package somewhere, and that's an example of one that I would be fine with.
That's fine. And listen, Suter makes sense. I
was trying to be realistic with that one. I went one Soto, and then I tried to come with a very realistic deal.
I know. And Grichuk, I've never liked Grichuk.
I know you haven't. No, this is how I knew. We've talked about it before. Like, I know. But
he's he is batting over 300.
I really like him. He's one of those, we're total opposites. Like, I've always liked him. I always pick him up for stints in fantasy. I always trust him against left-handed pitching. Like, I've been a Grichuk guy. So he's been good this year.
He has been good. I'm not really in. First of all, I don't think they trade Bellinger. I'm also not knocking down the door to trade for Cody Bellinger, just because he's another lefty.
That was the problem with it. That's why the lefty thing of it did not, and Soto is too, obviously. But
yeah, but he's Juan Soto.
I was not as excited. That's why I led with Soto, and Bellinger was kind of like I will trade for Bellinger if I can't get Soto, just to say how important I think it is to really add someone impactful. But I agree with you. It's like Soto by a mile for me.
Part of the value of Bellinger for me a week and a half ago was that he could play first. Yep. And now Bryce the first baseman, man. I love watching Bryce at first. Now, it's the greatest. So, Bellinger would be fun. He's had a great year. He's smoking lefties, but I'm not super in on trading what I think it's probably going to take to get him.
And he is a rental as opposed to Soto's a year and a half and all that.
And unfortunately, Grichuk and Suter make sense. So good job.
Thank you. Thank you. All you, buddy. The floor is yours.
I can't stand him.
I can tell immediately. I was like, the moment I said the name Brent Suter, your face was just like, well.
Because he's the one player I don't want them. Like, if there's one player do not trade for, it's that guy. But regardless. All right. So I have about 100 targets for you that I just have to talk about them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just go deep, buddy. Go deep.
So here is my perfect deadline. Now, this gets thrown a wrench because I'm with you. So my big targets are Soto. I would take Soto, and I would still trade for Dylan Cease. Like I would do what it takes. You get 2 more years of him after this year. I think that you get him out of the dumb White Sox way of doing things, and you get him with a smart organization when it comes to pitching. I think you have a chance to get a possible Cy Young candidate in Dylan Cease. So I think you're buying low on him. And as someone that has owned him in fantasy, yes, he's killing my team. So those are my big moves. Now, the first move here is what I want them to do, and then I have a Jack trade for you, okay?
Can't wait, buddy.
So my first trade is I'm trading Bailey Falter, Carlos De La Cruz, and Connor Brogdon. I think this is enough, might need more, to the Seattle Mariners for Teoscar Hernandez. Now,
love Teoscar.
He has been bad this year.
Yes,
has not been great. But I think for the chance that they can get the thing I care about the most. So he strikes out a ton, and he doesn't walk, and he chases, which is the 3 things that, having not watched him every day, Jack is going to be very annoyed with if they trade for him. But he's like 25th in the league in barrels this year. He's been really good the last couple of years.
Oh, he was awesome in Toronto. Like, he raked.
He already has 16 home runs. He's not going to be his defensive metrics aren't that bad. So if he can just play left field or whatever they want to switch him and Castellanos, I don't know. But I'm taking a shot on a guy who I think is a devalued asset that has a ton of right-handed pop, which I think they need more than anything right now. Like, they are missing Rhys Hoskins in the lineup. Shocking. But they need to be able to replace that power somewhere at the deadline. And I'm taking a shot on Teoscar Hernandez. I like Grichuk, but Grichuk has 5 homers this year. So, especially in Colorado. So, I don't know what's going on there. But the overall numbers don't look great. OBP is under 300. 16 home runs. They need right-handed pop. I'm taking a shot on, this year's version of Soler.
I love it. I've been a Teoscar guy. I owned him in fantasy last year and the year before. And 2 years ago, he was a freaking stud for me. I love the Teoscar idea. And I think honestly, I think that might even be it's certainly enough, I think, to get him. I do.
Well, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. And a couple of other things.
Too much is my point. You might not even have to give up that much to get Teoscar.
That's fine. And the other thing I like, batting 370, so he's batting 240 something, but 317 with runners in scoring position. He's got an 846 OPS against lefties, and he's got 750 OPS on the road. So
also seems like a vibes guy too. I watched a lot of Blue Jays baseball a couple years ago because I had him and Vlad on the same fantasy team for back-to-back years, and they all that team was fun. Those guys had fun. He seemed like someone who everyone liked. So yeah, I'm all in on Teoscar.
So Teoscar, now the Jack trade. And a trade. Now Teoscar's my target, but I'm looking for another right-handed power bat that can play left field, even though his defensive numbers have been bad for some reason, even though he came up as a center fielder. I am taking a shot on doing the Brandon Marsh trade over again. And I'm trading the same package for Teoscar plus Hao-Yu Lee to the Los Angeles Angels for Joe Adell.
Wow. So Joe Adell was a top 2 or 3 prospect in baseball.
So last time I said 2020, he was number 6.
Okay. So yeah, I knew he was up there. And it depends, I guess, what list you looked at. He was definitely top 3 on some lists. So yeah, that's a legit, but never put it together.
Yeah. Angels are dumb. See what the Phillies got out of Brandon Marsh.
Yeah.
He has like a million home runs in AAA. He's hurt right now. But if you're looking for a chance on a mix of upside and right-handed power and a guy that can just play left field, taking a shot on Joe Adell and spending the assets to go get it done. That's my Jack.
K Long, like that's the kind of guy you give to K Long. It's like, all right, I got this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like this chance to get a Joe Adell and turn him into like a stud here. I love the Teoscar idea, but you know me, the Joe Adell thing is right up my alley.
Yeah, it's so Fritzy.
My second trade, and this is vintage. I'm trading Simone Muzziotti and some lower level guy to the New York Mets for my guy, my favorite player in baseball, Luis Guillorme. And I have loved Luis Guillorme for a million years. He's having a down year. He's my favorite player on the Mets. And I am getting Josh Harrison out of here. And he is out until September, so you wouldn't have him for a month. I am getting Luis Guillorme here, and he's going to be my utility guy for the next 2 years.
I'm fine with it. Anything that gets Josh Harrison out the door. It's a great move. But it's funny. I thought you were setting up for because I know you also hate Tommy Pham. It's funny, all these guys that I know you don't like that much. I thought you were setting up for I always loved him. Trade for Tommy Pham, who I don't like.
So I would, full disclosure, I would trade for Tommy. Like
yeah, he's been good.
He's been really good, and he's going to cost nothing. He has an 850 OPS. I think he's top 30 in barrels. So he's top 30 in barrels and expected WOBA. So
yeah, and again, he's a solid fielder out there. Like yeah.
I think they trade for Tommy Pham. Like if I know this, I guarantee Tommy Pham's in Philly on Tuesday. This last trade, it's going to sound like an overpay. And I don't think it is, but it might be an overpay. Full disclosure. I am trading Johan Rojas, Hao-Yu Lee, if he's not in the Joe Adell trade, Gene Cabrera, and a lower level prospect to the Kansas City Royals for Carlos Hernandez and Brady Singer. Now, Brady Singer has been ass this year, but he is an innings eater. The Royals are dumb. He had a 3.23 ERA last year, and it's a chance on that. So it's not really about Brady Singer. Carlos Hernandez, I think, with a non-dumb team, is a top 10 reliever in baseball.
Wow.
And he's already been really good this year, and I know that sounds like a lot, but he is under control, I believe, for the next 3 seasons after this. And he throws 100 all the time, so like him, Soto, and Alvarado would be fun at the back end. I'm getting another a kind of weapon and someone that I think is a devalued asset a little bit. I know no one really knows who he is, and I know it would be a lot, but if you're looking for another back end option, I just think the guy's a stud. And I think if you get him out of Kansas City and you get him here, then you get him turned into an animal for you. So I know Rojas is a lot. I know Lee is a lot. That's 2 top 10 prospects for a reliever and a bulk starter. But I mean, Brady Singer has 2 years after this. So like,
and Singer, again, to your point, Singer last year was pretty good. Like, so it's not, Yeah.
So that's my deadline. I'm getting right-handed power bat. I'm getting a utility guy.
So realistic of you. You just came in like a grown adult. You're not joking around. You're not, pie in the sky.
This is not the time.
I came in and said Juan Soto. You're like, no. Let me tell you about these. We're going to get a left fielder here. We're going to get a reliever here. It's going to be very on the level. I expected this, but I also love how I come in. I'm like, I'm trading for Juan Soto, whatever it takes. And you're like, I'm giving up this prospect, probably this one or this one. It's like you're so much. You
want to know the bad part?
Yeah.
You want to know the bad part is that I was sitting there putting this together, and obviously we're not really making these trades, but I was like, man, it would hurt to put him in this trade. You know what I mean? Like I was like, man, I don't know if I want. This is a lot for Carlos Hernandez. I want him, but man, it's a lot. You gotta give up something to get something. You know what I mean? So yes, I took it very literally 10:45 last night, just painstaking.
I believe
I really
it.
want to do this, but
I believe it.
But yeah, so the way I view it is I get a right-hand power bat. I get to replace Josh Harrison. I get a starter that if they want to go 6-man, at least he can take down innings. And I think I get a high upside reliever. It reminds me of remember I wanted them to sign Carlos Estevez last year?
Sure, of course. He's been closing for the Angels. He's been great.
Who could forget my Carlos Estevez love?
Dude, it was the trade deadline pod. And you got it was like one of your leads, I think, was Estevez. You brought him up out of nowhere. You're like, I want Carlos Estevez. I was like, okay.
Yeah. We're doing that again with Carlos Hernandez. Now, I just have to get all of my I have to get all of my targets out, okay? Because these
just fire them off, buddy. Fire them off.
So here's my problem with this: is I have about 30 names here.
Oh my goodness.
And they're gonna trade for no one of these guys. That's how it usually works. But here is everyone that I would be happy if the Phillies traded for. Okay, Teoscar, Joe Adell, Adam Duvall, James Paxton, Nick Pivetta.
Oh, he's been great. Bullpen superstar.
Our Foles, man. Our Foles. Bring him home. Let him win World Series MVP for us. Mm-hmm. Bringing back Pivetta would be the funniest thing in the world.
All time.
Aaron Savall, he's got 2 years left after this year, but he's kind of turned it around. And the Guardians always have pitching, so maybe they'd consider moving him. It'd probably cost a haul, but if you're looking for someone who's been pretty good, that's turned it around and has found a cutter, which his team's obsessed with, Aaron Savall is a name to look out for. I would be in on Eduardo Rodriguez. He's never healthy at this point, but he's been really good.
Yeah, he's been breaking out in Detroit.
Yeah, and Dave would love to bring one of his guys home. Joe Kelly is an interesting one.
I almost put him. He was one, but I went with a lefty reliever, and I was trying to find one you hated, so I didn't want to go Joe Kelly. But
Joe Kelly's the right-handed version of Brent Suter.
Of Brent Suter, exactly. Yeah.
So Joe Kelly, I always kind of think he sucks, but he helped Dave win a World Series, so I can see them trading for him. Matt Duffy, who's been around forever, he's in the Royals now, but can play multiple positions, and I think is an upgrade over Josh Harrison. As you can tell, I really want to upgrade the Josh Harrison spot.
As you
should.
Team. I agree.
I would trade for Tommy Pham, Luis Guillorme, obviously. Garrett Stone, who killed us out of nowhere, I would definitely trade for from the Nationals.
I never heard of him, man. I was like, who the hell's this guy?
I don't know why I said
hitting
Garrett
a grand
Stone.
slam right now. Stone something.
Stone Garrett. That's
it. His first name's Stone. Yeah.
Yes, I messed it up. But he killed the Phillies.
He did.
And a really good defensive left fielder, regardless. Jordan Montgomery's interesting. He's got.
It's a name the Phillies have been linked to in a lot of these articles.
And it makes sense. He's a lefty. He's never hurt. He's not super high upside, but he's been pretty good this year. Mm-hmm. And he's a free agent at the end of the year and 100% getting traded. So Jordan Montgomery is a name to look out for. You know me, Mitch Keller. I don't know what's going to take.
Buddy?
I don't know what's going to take.
Apparently they're shopping him. So.
I know, which is shocking. But I think if he, again, leaves a dumb team and comes to a smart team, you have a chance to get even more out of Mitch Keller. So I think it would probably cost Abel, honestly. And I'm not sure that he's got 2 years left.
Yeah, no, Mitch is good. Yeah.
And he's an all-star. Colin Holderman is a pitcher on the Pirates that's pretty good that I think no one really knows, but is a decent bullpen option. The interesting one is Blake Snell. I know he's a free agent at the end of the year. I know he costs a ton. Man, if you get Blake Snell in this rotation.
I mean, he's been one of the 2 or 3 best pitchers in baseball the last 2 months. He's been unbelievable.
Second in Cy Young odds right now.
I mean, I'm not surprised. He's been phenomenal.
So I'm curious to see if they would give up what it takes to get Blake Snell here, because if they care about aces and stars.
So how about we just Hader, Snell, and Soto? What would that package cost? If you give up your entire minor leagues, does that get it done?
Yeah, probably. And I don't know, someone on the major league roster. I would assume.
Fill the needs. I'm just saying. I think you kind of solve all your problems pretty quickly there.
Yeah. But Snell's. I wonder if they're gonna do what it takes to get Snell. Justin Lawrence, the Rockies super funky sidearmer that throws 100 out of nowhere. He's probably gonna cost a ton in a trade, but I would 100% see if they could get him. Harold Castro has been around forever. He can play first, second, third, short if they want. So again, just a Josh Harris replacement. And the final one is Andy Ibanez of the Tigers, who is again that ballpark is a
he's not Raul's
horrible
kid.
hitter's park.
By the way.
I know. It's a horrible hitter's park. So if you get him out of there, and because all of his underlying stats suggest that he could be better. But again, no one crazy. Either way, cannot wait for the deadline. And come on, Dave, bring us a stud.
It's your time to shine, buddy. Your time to shine. And look, those trades last year made a difference. Like Brandon Marsh made a difference in them getting the World Series. David Robertson played a role in them getting the World Series. So even Syndergaard, was part of the team that got to the World
Dude,
Series.
how the hell did they trade Syndergaard for Ahmed Rosario?
I know. Well, the funny thing is Rosario's numbers are not Rosario's one of those guys who the advanced numbers look way worse than the real numbers. Like he's one of the worst players in baseball, according to
well aware.
I've
owned him in fantasy. It's just like Noah Syndergaard is done.
It's done. I know. Well, they're getting money with it. A classic Indians trade. The Dodgers are throwing some cash, and they're like, "Oh, cool."
Guardians trade.
I know. You're right. All right. You got any final thoughts before we get out of here? 8:10. You got to go to work. I'm running late.
Yeah, whatever.
No big deal. This is most
What's
important.
work?
I got to take my daughter to school.
Nice.
We're running real late, but it's all good.
I think it's time for here. How about a sweep? How about
a freaking sweep? Yeah, you're playing the freaking Pirates. All right, like freaking. By the way, do we always play the Pirates for the deadline? Is this just every year? They just
it was on this date. It was on this date last year that we had high hopes night.
Yeah.
And Familia almost blew it, and then.
It does feel like, though, it's like right around the deadline we play the Pirates. Like
good. That's when they're trading all their players.
You're right. At first-hand look. Go ahead, David Bednar for nothing. Just give him to us. Give him to us.
Gonna cost a lot, but yes.
Yeah, that's why I did not include him in my perfect deadline. He's got 3 years left. Yeah. All right. This was awesome. Drink Miller Lite because Miller Lite's awesome. We love it. We will be back this weekend because we feel pretty confident they're gonna make trades, and if not, we'll be back after they sweep the Pirates.
Are we on emergency watch? I feel like it's officially emergency watch.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like yeah, absolutely.
Make a trade today. Probably a podcast tomorrow morning.
Yeah, they're probably. I mean, look, if they make a if they, look, who's an example of something we said today? Like, if it's a straight up trade for Randall Grichuk alone, maybe we don't run to the computer to record. But if they trade for Carlos Hernandez,
yeah, 4 hours on Carlos Hernandez for me. Yep.
All right. So one way or the other, you'll hear from us soon. So go sweep the freaking Pirates. Until then, he's Fritz and Seltzer.